I mean, that's why we started this. We started it so that we could get the individuals. One, I mean, they're all over the globe. And if you can't lyrically lock and load the lyrical AK and spray over individuals and really get down to the science of a situation, then you have to look forward to somebody else. And that is a beautiful caller. Thank you so much for calling in. We have 502. 502, you are on air.
Yes, I was calling. I want to just ask. So you all are saying that you want to get away from content talk altogether, correct?
Was that a question altogether? Do you want to
yes,
ask the entire panel?
Through the show, you kept saying that you want to just throw out content altogether. You don't want to talk about that. And with phenotyping.
Actually, I think John said that.
Okay.
It was,
you all agree that...
It was just a suggestion. Yeah, go ahead. It was just a suggestion as a way to avoid arguments and drama and hard feelings. That's all. But go ahead. I'm open to your opinion on it.
There had to be a statement behind that question. So go ahead, caller from 502.
Well, I was just asking because, and I will agree that it is hard, especially with lower content, to phenotype from a picture. But you can obviously tell the difference between a low content and a high content.
Is there a backing behind the statement?
So what does that mean?
Hold on, John. Hold on. Is there backing behind the statement, ma'am?
So I like her question. I like her question.
All right. Go ahead.
So what you're asking then, ma'am, is you're asking, is there a difference between an animal that looks a little bit like a wolf and an animal that looks a lot like a wolf? Right? Isn't that really the question that you're asking there? Low content, it doesn't look a lot like a wolf, and high content, it does look a lot like a wolf. And I would agree with you that there is a huge difference in appearance. I absolutely agree. But where I stop, where I draw that line, is assuming that has some relation to the genetic makeup of the animal. That a high content is more than 85% wolf. As some people like to draw the line there, some at 90. And I think that's where DNA testing is going to upset this apple cart quite a bit, because with my own eyes, I've seen animals that look extremely wolfy that DNA tested at 29%. And when you take that into account, then yes, we can say it looks very wolfy. It looks kind of wolfy. It looks somewhat wolfy. We can make those kind of statements, but I don't think it has a lick of anything to do with what the real genetic makeup is. Does that help?
Okay, well, aside from the genetic makeup and everything,
Hold on, Matt. Hold on. Go ahead, dear.
Everybody's talking about how, you can't phenotype over a picture and how they're bashing people for this and that and whatever. But if even John can say there is a big difference between the way a low-content animal, getting away from the way genetically they fall, but just in appearance, if you can say, yes, a low-content animal and a high-content animal, even in a picture, look different.
I agree.
Even in a picture. We're agreed on that.
Very wolfy, or it looks not very wolfy. I agree.
So I have to interject, though. Can a picture depict a very non-wolfy animal that actually is high content?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
That's what I was going to say. Just with all of the domestic breeds that happen to have a lot of wolfy features, it's just another reason you can't go strictly on phenotype. There are a number of domesticated breeds that a lot of the
number
features
of
on the
domesticated dog breeds that look wolfy, right? but there's no wolf breeds that look like dogs.
I think
Correct?
there's an agenda from your 502 area code,
okay.
ma'am. Hold on, guys. Hold on, guys. Please hold. 502. Do you breed wolf dogs?
No, I do not breed, and I do not agree with breeding. I have rescue wolf dogs, and that is it. From bad breeders who do not take care of them, and they sell them for money, and they don't care where their puppies go. So, no,
Okay,
I'm not
so
a breeder.
No, you're not a breeder, but you're mad about the breeders.
No, I'm not mad about the breeders. I think they're very
community.
reputable,
It
wonderful
sounds to me-
breeders. I think there's horrible owners.
Okay, agreed. So I cut everybody off because it was getting a little intense there. I mean, I thought you had an agenda,
I was
and
just
I
asking a
apologize.
question. You have
Okay, I apologize. That is my
you
mistake.
have
Go ahead,
dog
Matt.
breeds that look like wolves, and you have wolf breeds that look like wolves. But there's no wolf breeds that look like dogs. My problem is people will get.
Yes, no.
Yes and no. You have a wild wolf that looks like a dog.
Well, so there is a little something going on there.
A dingo does look like a
Okay,
dog.
I'm the mediator. Hold the phone. Hold the phone. Matthew, you go first. Pam, you go next. And John, bring up the rear for this 502 caller, please.
Well, if I can interject, I'd first just like to relate back to expressivity, which in short says that there are, non or low content dogs that do have very wolfish features. Because
Yes, there are
domestic
low
dogs were domesticated from the wild wolves, they are going to have the same genetic makeup more or less. It all boils down to how much each gene is expressed. And there are billions upon billions of genes, meaning there are billions upon billions of minuscule little traits that anybody can nitpick if they wanted to. It's the reason that you can find pictures of full-blooded wild wolves with a slight curl in their tail or a little bit of pink in their nose. But that doesn't mean that they're not wolves.
Or wolf dogs, right? Wolf hybrids,
Right,
as I like to call them.
Well, I was speaking specifically about full-blooded wolves. A lot of the traits that people are seeing as, that proves it's not a high content, you can see those traits in 100% wild wolves. There are numerous wild, albeit it is the vast minority, there are still wild wolves that do not have a perfectly straight tail and don't have a solid black nose based on expressivity.
Damn, that's like a home run grand slam. Thank you, Matt. That's like a home run grand slam, and that's what I've been speaking of. Go ahead, Pam.
Well, no, I want to refer back to even something as simple as the dingo. The dingo looks like a dog, even though it's a subspecies, obviously, of the wolf. However, it's still a wild dog, and it looks like a domesticated dog. If you did not know it on the street, you would just think that was a normal dog. Yes, I agree that there are some traits that are very distinguishable in a pure wolf. However, when we talk about the wolf dog, we're intermingling these genes. And so whether it be shepherd, malamute, husky, or whatever, those genes are going to pop up. And a lot of people really like to talk about the light-eyed wolves that have like a gray-blue cast. Those are genetic mutations. Though it may be rare, they do have them. And so just because a pure wolf has a blue, green, or a blue eye does not also negate its wolf heritage. So I think there's a lot to be said. But on the other note, just because we were talking about a low-content dog, obviously it does not look like a high-content wolf or wolf dog. But then again, we're going off phenotyping. So the dog doesn't look necessarily like a pure wolf, but that doesn't mean, like John was saying, the genes don't line up. So again, that's almost prejudicing the animal. So we're calling it a low content, and we're saying low. However, for all we know, it could line up to be 40 to 50%.
That was a segue to you, John. Go ahead.
I agree completely. I'll use my own mistress as an example again. She is not a dog. She does not act like a dog. You put her up beside a husky, she doesn't look like a husky either. So it's. I think that when people make the correlation that looking like a wolf, more or less like a wolf, means more or less wolf genes, I think that's a mistake. And I would like to expound on something that Tia said earlier about the genesis of phenotyping. I was taught by the best in the community, quote unquote best, at phenotyping. I paid attention, I learned, I enjoy it, I still enjoy it. I think it's a challenge to spot, attention to detail kind of things. But I heard that it was developed by wolf fur traders as a way to make sure that they weren't putting too much dog into the mix. So wolves, pure wolves, were very hard to handle for the fur traders, so they mixed some dog in there to kind of turn the volume knob down a little bit, and they would look for certain things to crop up, like a head stop, or like the tail to get too long, or those kind of things, and that's how they knew that they were getting too much dog in the mix. So I believe that. Go ahead.
The fur traders were also breeding for intelligence. That's why they also went to the wolves, because...
Oh, is that right? Okay, I didn't know that either. Okay. So with regard to appearance, I think a lot of people can see dog in a wolf, but I don't think a lot of people can see wolf in a dog. And that's where, if it doesn't look like a wolf, it can't be a wolf dog. Well, DNA testing is saying a whole lot different.
And then we click-clack the lyrical shotgun on the situation. So Tia has something to say, and then we've got a masked caller. Masked, because I say it's 111 111 1111. So apparently we have another caller, but Tia has something to say on that too.
Well, I just wanted to put out an example that I've seen and met in person, because people say if it's, low content, it's going to look like a dog. If it's high content, it's going to look like a wolf. I personally met a very wolfy, any pheno group would have phenoed him as high content, very low content retriever mix that was had just a little bit of wolf in him. He was the only one in the litter that looked this way. I mean, some of them had the color with the floppy ears, or they had a short coat, or, they had different traits that, that messed up the wolf look. This particular guy looked just right out of Nat Geographic. Acted just like a retriever. He was goofy and goobery, and he loved everybody, and he would jump on you and lick you, and he did the retriever wiggle, how their whole body does the goofy wiggle, and their butt end goes with their tail, moved like a dog, but looked just like a wolf. And that was just an absolute amazing animal to meet, because he was low content. He had, according to his owners, he had, like less than a quarter of wolf in him. It was somewhere back in his great grandparents that had wolf in them, and they had been breeding retriever since, but they had bred it in a long time back in order to add to the intelligence of the breed. And we're trying to get back to the retriever look, and he was a major throwback of the wolf look. It was just, it completely dispels the myth of phenotyping.
So we're lyrically locked and loaded, folks. We are lyrically locked and loaded, and apparently somebody doesn't want to know where they're coming from. Sir, from the 111 111 you are on air. Do you have something to say, sir? Ma'am.
How many of you guys are on drugs? I'm going to do your listeners a favor for a minute.
No, wait a minute. Let's do our listeners a favor and say, where are you coming from and who are you? Who are you that is calling and claiming that we're on drugs, has the show playing in the background, and I can hear it. So who are you?
for the record, I'm a published biologist student.
Hold on, Matt. Hold on, because I was giving this caller a point, and I'm going to go back to the caller. I'm going to go back to this 111 caller that has background noise. Do you own wolf dogs? Who are you? Where do you come from? And you got about 10 seconds. Yeah, that's what I thought. So you must be on drugs, dear. That is the individual that is on drugs. Sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that for the record, should anybody be worried that we are just a group of people on drugs, I am a published biologist. Should anybody feel the need to look my name up and review any of my research, you can find it all online.
Okay, so 502 got muted out. Miss 502 area code, you got muted out. Sorry, had to do it to you. Go ahead. Do you have anything else to add?
Yes, I do. I never once argued the fact that 50% was not a wolf dog. What I said is that we're in agreement there. 50% is a wolf dog, but it is not a high-content wolf dog. It is not 98%. My problem is, how can you look at an animal that is maybe 50%, has a lot of doggy traits and wolfy traits, but you're going to try to tell somebody it is a 98% wolf dog, and then, God forbid, they go out and get a real one and keep it indoors in their house, and then that's how rescues end up with them.
Okay.
Well, you have a valid point. You have a very valid point. And on that note, we have a lot of people who look at wolf dogs and say they're low to no, and they may be mid-content, and they're not prepared for that animal either. So it truly, honestly is a huge double-edged sword. It really is. So it's not for us to be going around judging other people's animals and saying whether they're prepared or not. However, if we do make those mistakes because we're butting into certain people's business that we have no business to be in, calling their animal a low-no, and they're thinking it's going to be like a normal dog they can keep in the house and it tears up the walls, chews through the drywall, or eats their furniture, they're not prepared for that. So there is such a danger. There's such a danger by that throwing around a phenotyping, again, by a picture. It does not prepare people. So, but you know what does prepare people is education. If someone's going to be a wolf dog owner, they need to understand what wolf dog is.
So then why can't people say, I have a low content, a great starter wolf dog, instead of trying to sell them this low content wolf dog as a high content wolf dog?
Well, who is who and what is what? Where's the proof?
Yes,
that's the point.
Yeah, we're judging them. That's the issue. Is we might be judging.
But you
them.
all just sat there and agreed that you can tell the difference between a low content animal, which is 40%, or even a mid content animal, 50% to a 90%.
What we said was you can tell the difference between an animal that looks a lot like a wolf and an animal that doesn't look a lot like a wolf. But whenever you start assigning percentages to these content groups, I think, my opinion, and DNA testing supports it so far, you're making a mistake. I would be willing to bet that there are no 97% animals out there, that you can get some very wolfy-looking animals with a whole lot less than 97%. We don't really know what the actual genetic makeup is. We don't know how many dog genes have taken over in every successive generation. We don't know what the original mix was. A lot of people back in the day fudged the numbers. And if you really look at these pedigrees, it's holes. It's not accurate like German Shepherd, high-dollar German Shepherd pedigrees are accurate. It doesn't exist in the wolf dog.
John, I've got a question for you. What is a high-dollar German Shepherd?
What about $5,000?
Have you done research on this, sir? And
I've got a couple of neighbors that have spent a pile of money on German Shepherds, but you can trace that lineage, 100 years. I mean, it's not like wolf dogs where, after 5 or 6 generations, it's pretty spotty. Other breeds have, what I would consider bulletproof pedigrees, and in the wolf dog community, there's a lot of guessing, in my opinion.
Because there is no breed standard. That's the issue. With the wolf dog, everyone will universally agree that there is no breed standard. They seem to chop it up as low, mid, and high, and everything in between. I personally believe my animals on paper are 90%. I never call them high content. I try to avoid calling them mid content because when it boils right down to it, I never know how those genes are going to be expressed. And I tell everybody that when they contact me, that I'll never, ever call them a high content. I'm not comfortable with that because I don't know. I really honestly don't know. And that's being truthful. There's a person who's been called a misrepper being as honest as anybody in the wolf dog community right there. A person who's been bashed for misrepresenting being more honest, I would say, than most in the wolf dog community. Thank you. You're welcome.
And if I could interject, I've seen a lot of the low contents that look very wolfy, as Tia and other guests have been talking about. But I've also seen
I want to know where they're
other
finding all these lows that look very wolfy. Can you please find them for me?
Well, I was going to say I've seen the other extreme where, now admittedly it was the only timber wolf pit bull mix I've seen, but I did have the pleasure of meeting both parents, and the offspring looked like a full-blooded pit bull to me. So even with something that is 50% timber wolf, it's not necessarily going to express many, if any, of those wolfish traits. And what you have to remember is that the wolf traits and the domestic traits, not all of them, but some of them do overlap so much that you can see wolf traits and interpret them as domestic traits if you don't know exactly what you're looking for.
Well, you have to admit, a lot of people are not wolf savvy, and a lot of people are not dog savvy, so they don't know or understand those overlapping traits. And that's why, if you're self-educated like myself, without a degree, you have to understand those biologies. You have to study those different characteristic traits.
Absolutely.
Well, and according to phenotype, a mid-content, which could be a 50-50, a mid-content should look very wolfy. You're not supposed to be able to walk it out in public, in their own words. You can't walk it out in public without somebody stopping to say, is that a wolf? And yet, my very first wolf dog was a 50-50 lab wolf, and it looked like a lab. And if I bred that back to a high-content
earlier analogy,
I can guarantee that there's a good chance I would end up with a lab-looking high mid. If I bred that back to a high content, my lab wolf, which granted I got him fixed, I wasn't breeding at that time, the possibility of ending up with a lab looking high mid was definitely there, and very much there. I mean, I'd say it was over a 50% chance that I would have a puppy out of that litter that looked like a lab but was a high mid.
Well, see, I gave the example earlier that one of my friends is half black, half white, but she appears to look very white. Yet you can't say she's not half black, half white. I mean, so when you think about how genetics and genes are expressed, we really can't say. And that's the important thing that people need to understand. It is a soup. And you can't say with 100% certainty it is a particular way. You just can't, based on the pick, phenotyping. And that's what we're talking about in error. We just don't know. The possibilities are endless.
I think the bigger problem, with the concern that our caller has, 502, as far as, since she does, wolf dog rescue and stuff, I think the bigger problem isn't so much what the content is of that animal, but as, you had mentioned, bad owners and bad breeders that don't take the time to make sure that their animals are being placed correctly, that are taking the time to keep track of their lines, to make sure they know what they have. instead of just selling it to any Joe Blow. And, that's just not cool. That's where, these animals end up in shelters, and it's not content related. If a person goes out and gets an animal that acts very wolfy, even if it looks like a husky, but they were told this is how this animal's going to act. It's going to act very much like a wolf. These are the personality traits it has. These are the quirks that it has. This is what you can expect. And then the person knows what the heck they are getting into. Just because it looks a certain way doesn't mean it's going to act a certain way. And as a breeder, that is a breeder's responsibility to make sure that the buyer is completely capable of handling the animal that it's getting. The content be damned. It doesn't matter on the content as far as the animals that are ending up in shelters, because if you go on Craigslist, you can see all different contents. Some of them may be no content. Who knows? I'm not going to make that judgment call. But if you go on Craigslist, they're selling them for $100 or giving them away for free. And that's the bigger issue, because I can just about guarantee at least half of them that are giving them away, and they have this 4 to 6 month old puppy that for whatever reason, life changed and they can't have it. Well, they didn't make the right decision in the first place if their life was going to change that quickly, but I can almost guarantee they were not prepared for what they got, and so they're rehoming it.
So this is the Crane's Roost Wolf Den. Oh, so you know this. And apparently the 111 caller has something to say. Again, I give you the opportunity to say something intelligent this time. You are on the air, 111. Do you have something intelligent
How many
to
actual
say
wolf
this time?
dogs do you have with known content?
Hello?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So I guess the thing that I'm hearing is I'm hearing about wolves with content and everything else. How many wolves with any known content do you own, sir?
What is what I'm owning have anything to do with the conversation, sir?
The conversation is, from the outside opinion of the rest of the world, it seems like you're on some pretty hardcore drugs.
Right. That's like your girlfriend stated, I guess, or wife, what have you. So go ahead.
My girlfriend or wife, sir, I'm gay.
How many do you own, sir? How many do you own?
How many do I own?
Yes, sir.
Actually, 2.
Okay. And would you put a percentage on them?
Upper mid to mid.
Okay. So the point of the call is, would you like to state your name?
Would you like to state your real one?
I'm asking you, sir. You're calling in.
Well, I'm just asking
you
back.
State your name?
Yours?
Would you like to state your name, sir, or do we need to, hang up and just go forward with the show?
Well, I mean, if you want to hang up, that's fine. My thing is, it just seems that you're sitting here saying people are misrepresenting. When do you even know what you're representing yourself?
Well, apparently I'm representing a lot of things on the wolf dog community, so I'm really not understanding where you're coming from. I mean, this wasn't a personal vendetta that I started out with, but it seems like you have a vendetta. So if you'd like to state your name, sir, go ahead.
Okay. My name is Antoine Fisher, okay? And I'm going to tell you right now, you have been misrepresenting the entire community for so long.
How so? Yeah, how so, sir?
Is that just one person, or are you lumping everyone into that statement?
I don't know. He hung up.
We've got people that aren't smart enough to turn down their speakers. We've got people that call in, calling names. We've got people that make blanket statements and hang up. This is the hate that we try to avoid. This is the nonsense that is wrecking the experience for a lot of people. There's no reason for this.
There is absolutely, John. That was ridiculous, wasn't it? Because you're coming at me. You're coming at me, and I'm going, okay, wait a minute. Well, what's your name? I'm Mike Love.
I gave my name. That doesn't bother me a bit.
You know what I mean? And it's ridiculous, and it's redundant, and that's the stuff that individuals have to deal with when they're on Facebook. And the thing that really boils my blood is the fact that these individuals that are young of age, might be old of age, doesn't matter, either or, they come in and they're like, well, I would like to know something about a wolf dog. I'd like to know this, or I'd not like to know that. And that's when they're getting misled. And that's the unfortunate state of affairs that we're firing off. And, you know, we're going to have callers throughout this situation over. I mean, I've had death threats. You name it, I've had it. It doesn't matter to me. It is what it is. Anybody have anything to add?
Well, I have personally 6 wolf dogs, and like I said, 5 of them are in the 90 percentile on paper. I also have a 98% on paper, and sometimes I'm baffled and perplexed by all their behaviors. And what I mean is sometimes my mids act like the high, and my high acts like a low. I mean, my high, which is 98% Yukon, 2% Malamute, from a very great kennel in the Carolinas. He's I could leave him in the house, and he's just relaxed. He's not getting into things. He's not chewing. He's not being facetious. He minds. He takes commands, and I'm puzzled by his behavior. Yet, some of you have seen the pictures of him. His name is Boaz, and he looks and acts like a dog at times, and I'm puzzled. So when you really think about it, we all need to be prepared. We all need to be educated, and that's the issue. I started Arizona Husband Association because there was a need. The need was for education for people, and I'm not going to play the pheno game with other people and their animals. However, people do need. The lady was that called in was very perplexed and upset about bad breeders as well as bad owners not being prepared. I think everything is about education and proper education and the marriage of the two biologies. However, that's where I fell into where I'm at, is because there was that need. And I think that a lot of these people who are very critical haven't really done much in the wolf dog community. And then when I say that, just because you rescued a few animals, but yet you beat everybody up in between rescuing animals, really kind of negates your work. Your work should be out of love for humans as well as animals. And so, I mean, we need to just look at things as a whole and reconsider our purpose with the wolf dog and how we treat and relate to one another. And that's my rant.
Okay, cool. Firestorm between the two gentlemen that are sitting on hold, Matt and then John. We got 7 minutes left. So I would like you two to give me a summary. And then you know how I do. I'm going to do what I do. So go right ahead, gentlemen.
Go ahead, Matt.
Well, I would say that my summary would be, first and foremost, do not try to phenotype by a picture or 2 pictures or even a video, because on top of what numerous callers and guests have mentioned with the various physical traits and lack thereof, what I really feel like people aren't taking into as much account as they should is the wolf behavior, because instinct is a very strong force that even domestication isn't going to necessarily overcome. And as a biologist, I can certainly say that instinct and behavior is going to be the very last thing to change. So even if you do have a dog or a wolf dog or what have you that happens to look high content or low content, you can't ignore the behavioral factors. Wolf dogs are going to have not necessarily all of the wild traits, but you will be able, for the most part, to look at their behavior and tell to some degree whether or not they are, in fact, wolf dogs. That's not to say that you can tell content or anything else by behavior or appearance, but you can very much tell that they're wolf dogs. And I certainly would not claim that any trait at all is accurate enough to phenotype any sort of animal from a picture or a video.
So rip it, John. I only got 5 minutes and 50 seconds, sir, so go ahead.
I'll make it quick. So I agree with Pam that people need to be a hell of a lot more polite to each other. I agree with Matthew that if you're going to make a guess, understand that it's only a guess. And I would only offer that even though we're in the beginning phase of DNA analysis, it is showing in a lot of cases that phenotyping and actual percentage are not what people have thought for many years, and even more reason to exchange your opinions politely. You hear that noise? That's my no content dog. That's all.
So I am you and you are me. Taking a look in the mirror and tell me what you see, folks. Are we on drugs? Hell no. Hell no to that 111 caller. Do we have an opinion? Oh, well, I sit down at the Porcelain God every day. And every day I let my brown eye let it go. And I talk that. And I do that. So for all those individuals that have uneducated, misrepping, uneducated statements that you have to say, you better be correct and you better be proper if you're calling in here at the Crane's Roost Wolf Den, because we will stop it as we have done from the beginning. I'm Mike Love. What you got to say? I am you and you are me. Take a look in the mirror and tell me what you see. Nobody knows the content until the DNA just pops up. Now we can take a look at the content. We can maybe analytically look at it and go, whoa, wait a minute, now we've got content. Okay, so now we can look at percentages. So if an individual says it's high content and you disagree, well, that's a disagreement. That's okay. I'm okay with that. When you attack somebody's family, when you send the SWAT team to somebody's house, when you do things that are out of the norm under a disagreement over content of an animal, that's when I have to lyrically get locked and loaded and spray with the lyrical AK over the radio stream into your eardrum. Am I on drugs? Negative. Never have been. Never will be. So sorry to the individuals that were uneducated in their calls this evening. Why do I say sorry? That's completely irrelevant. Why should I say sorry to you? Oh, because I am living the universe of the positive nature. So I project positive and I shall receive it. The negative bounces off of me. It will always bounce off of me, no matter what. So the individuals that want to talk about the bad apple on the tree, sorry, we're golden and we're the tip of the spear. The tree actually has a disease. It has a disease of negativity. So I don't know. Who was that? George Washington that chopped down the cherry tree? Was that George Washington? Somebody chopped down the cherry tree. And that individual is chopping down that apple tree because I am you and you are me. So take a look, a hard look, folks, in the mirror and tell me what you see. Because when you bring negative, you're going to receive it. When you bring positive, you got nothing but love, baby. So, in closing, wow, that was a 5-minute closing, wasn't it? In closing, to all the individuals out there on the book that has no face, we're here, and we're not going anywhere. We refuse. Yeah, I bucked the system. We refuse. I'm not going anywhere. And you know what? There's way too many golden apples out here around my tree that are not going anywhere either. Because all you individuals that want to project negativity, guess what? We're going to shoot you with positivity inside of the radio station. We're going to lyrically devour you every single time you open your mouth with negative energy. We're not going anywhere. I am you. You are me. Take a look in the mirror and tell me what you see. No drugs, no nonsense, completely straight, as I like it. I love every last one of y'all. Love is life, and life is love. If you can't love yourself, oh, guess what? You can't love anybody else. Good night.